Muted.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's EzyScript webinar, sponsored by Option. My name is Tim Curtin. I will be moderating and presenting during today's session, and I first want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us for this webinar today. First, let's review a few housekeeping things before we start. First, audio is available by dialing the number provided. If you're having any audio issues, you may notify the webinar organizers through the chat panel on your webinar control panel screen, and we will try to assist you with your audio. If you have any questions during this short 30-minute session, we ask that you prepare them for the end of the webinar. You may type your questions in the questions panel, the Q&A box, or the chat box, and we will try to answer most of the questions at the end in our Q&A session. The format in today's webinar will include an introduction, followed by a review of EzyScript. After a brief demo, we'll have time for questions, followed by a quick wrap-up. So here's the, So a little bit about the option itself, and I know we have some current customers of either EzyScript or one of our other products on the line. I will give, and we have some potential customers as well, so I want to tell you a little bit about the option itself. We're located in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, in Lewisville, Texas. We were formed back in 1998 by accountants and programmers who were continually supporting SAP accounting professionals. We are an SAP software solutions partner, and we work only in SAP, but we do offer solutions in all areas of SAP, which you'll see in just a minute. We have customers of all sizes and in all industries all around the world. And we pride ourselves on providing world-class products and support to our customers. As I mentioned, we offer multiple products, and the three of those that you see on the screen are the ones that we offer. We consider these to be the best of the best in the spreadsheet integration solutions for SAP industry. Today we're going to be talking about EzyScript, which is a scripting solution for doing all kinds of things in SAP, things like master data, material maintenance, creation of POs, sales orders, all kinds of things. Pretty much anything that can be scripted in SAP can be utilized using the EzyScript tool, and I'll show you the tool here shortly. GLSU is our flagship product. It's for uploading finance data into SAP straight from Microsoft Excel. It's got a lot of built-in business logic. And then our budget loader solution is also an upload tool, but it's for CO planning data. So you can download plan data into Excel, manipulate it, create new plan data, and upload it back to SAP. So we're going to be talking about EzyScript today. So the question comes up, why do you need an Excel integration for your SAP system? From a functional standpoint, everybody uses Excel. I would say 99% of the people in the SAP environment use Excel in some type of their business work. All of the standard Excel functionality is available to use, so you don't lose anything by using the EzyScript solution. You can still calculate values if you want to. You can write formulas. You can do all the stuff you can do in Excel today. You'll never have to rekey those calculated values again, so you don't need to calculate them on one sheet or calculate them in another program and then go into EzyScript and key those in again. Those will already be there. The calculations work. That minimizes the chance of errors, of course, and hopefully it'll save some time in creating that detailed data in less time, with less effort, to provide you more time to do your analysis. So with EzyScript, this is not a one-time solution. So you don't create a script to create cost centers, for instance, and then next month when you need to create cost centers again, you don't have to come back in here and rewrite the script. Obviously, if your SAP environment changes, some of your requirements change, then it might be easier to rewrite the script. But as long as that type of data stays static, you do not have to create these scripts over and over again. So you don't have to have some kind of interface program that's a one-time use thing. You use this on a day-to-day basis. So you can build and load test data scenarios, and I'll kind of go through one of those examples today. Create and maintain master data. Everybody in SAP has master data. GL accounts, cost centers, profit centers, vendors, all of that stuff, that can all be utilized using the EzyScript tool. And most importantly, we hope to free up your development resources, your IT folks, to work on other enhancements that you just can't get with an off-the-shelf solution like EzyScript. From a technical standpoint, it takes about an hour to 90 minutes to install this product on your SAP system, and we do that with you, so we provide that free remote installation assistance. We also provide all of the support and the ongoing development costs for our solutions, so it's not something that you have to dedicate somebody to support. We have an online support system that gets very good reviews in terms of attention and response time. And we do all of the development, so when Microsoft Excel is coming out with a new version or SAP is coming out with a new enhancement pack, we do all of that testing to make sure our products are going to work long before you guys would even have to worry about that. So how does EzyScript work? Again, it's a Microsoft Excel. It directly uploads from the Excel template that you're going to be seeing straight into SAP. You can also download table data using the query function available in EzyScript, and I'll show you that as well. So there's a query component and a scripting component, and you can utilize those together if you want to, and I'll show you that. The layouts are very flexible, so if you want them in a certain format, you can move fields around, and it's very user-friendly because, again, it is Microsoft Excel. We do offer a free trial period for any new customers. We usually say that's a 30-day trial period. That's very flexible. You can download the EzyScript into your test environment and do everything that I'm going to be showing you today and make sure it works exactly how you need it to work and how we tell you it works in your environment long before you have to purchase. So that's kind of a nice benefit. There's two different types of users, just like there is in all of our products, but this one's a little bit different. We have premium and standard users. Premium users are the ones who would have a little bit more technical knowledge of the SAP fields. So those are the users who would be creating these scripts, actually recording the transactions. Again, it does take a little bit more technical because if you get into SAP and you start recording and you're not really sure what you're doing, it's recording everything that you don't know what you're doing. So if you're making errors, it's recording those errors. So you definitely want to have someone who's a little bit more tech savvy. Standard users will be able to populate the Excel template and run the script. So they have a lot of functionality too. We do offer on-site training with this tool. That means coming on site and actually helping maybe create the first few scripts and getting it up and running on your system. You see the SAP versions it supports, and we do use the SAP GUI, which is this next screen. So as you'll see when we get to the product here in just a second, when I log in, it's going to ask me for my SAP user ID and password. Again, that's with all of our products. We use the everyday SAP login credentials. So there is, you purchase this product, you're not going to have to set up a whole new set of login authorizations. Okay, let's get to the demo and I'll be able to show you some of the functionality here. So I'm going to open up it's an Excel workbook, and it looks like a very busy workbook. It looks like there's a lot of data here, and I'm going to explain this. As you see at the top here, just like our other products, EzyScript comes in as an Excel add-in. We have a tab up here called EzyScript, and all of the functions related to EzyScript are right here in the ribbon. Now, I always like to point out a couple parts of this ribbon. We have, as I mentioned, we have a scripting component in one menu here, and we also have a query component. So those are the two products, or the two functions you get with EzyScript. So I'm going to start here. What you see on the screen, this is actually a query that I have run, and I run this, and I show this one because really anybody who has SAP could use this exact query. What this is doing, this is querying our user data. It's actually the USR02 table in SAP, and it's bringing back all of my SAP user information. And I have everything on here. You can limit this if you want to, but you have the username, you have the last login date. So like I said, anybody could use this. If you run this once a year when SAP does your license audit, you could come in here and say, oh, you know, Tim Curtin hasn't been in SAP since 7-8 months ago. Maybe he doesn't need a license anymore. So this is a very easy query to run. As you see, I have it on here, but I'm just going to come up here to my query function, or my query part of my menu, and I'm just going to fetch this query. That means go run the query. And when I click on fetch, the first thing it's going to do is, since I have a workbook with multiple tabs here, and apparently I have 2 queries in this workbook, it's saying, which query do you want? And now I mentioned I want the USR02 query. I'm going to click OK. And then the first thing it's going to do is say, I can't run this without you logging in. I need to make sure that I have the authorizations. So I'm going to log in, again, using my everyday SAP user ID and password. And it's going to connect to the system, check my authorizations, make sure I have that access. Now it's fetching this data, and it's going to say, do you want to append or replace? Append means we're going to add it to the end, or replace means wipe out everything there and replace it. So that's what I'm going to do. And as you see, my sheet went blank, and it's getting all of that user data from the USR02 table, and it's going to bring it back for me. And as you see, it looks the same. But I want to come down here and I want to show you that there is nothing that starts with the letter T. Because I'm going to create some new users, and I'm going to call them test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, things like that. So I want to show you that those are not in SAP right now. So I ran a query. Now I'm going to come over to my next tab, which is actually a script. And I'll show you how to create this script here in just a few minutes, but bear with me. I have this script created, and let's use the scenario that I'm running an SAP upgrade project. I'm going to put in some new enhancement packs, and I need some users to go in and test the system, make sure everything's fine, but I only need them for about 3 months, let's say. So I'm going to create test user 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to create them from using the same authorizations or the same credentials that I have. That's my user ID. And then our initial password, obviously, we need to put in twice. It's init pass. So I've written this script already. And again, I'm going to show you how to do this in a minute. But I'm going to create 5 users for this 3-month period that I need to come in and test this system. So I'm going to come up here to my scripting menu, and I'm just going to play this script. And as you see, it's working. It's running the script, and it's creating these users for me. And when it gets done, it should give me some information, whether it's successful or not. And it tells me 5 documents were successfully processed. And it tells me there's a warning there that the password's not downward compatible. That's fine. User test 1 was saved. These messages are all green. That's good. Green means good. So I've now created those 5 test users. But we haven't seen SAP yet. I want to prove to you that we have those, so I'm going to go back to my user query, and I'm going to fetch this query again. Same one. I'm going to replace again, and this time we should see those 5 users that I just created. Those are in SAP. Now it's pulling that table data back for me, so I can look at it. And there's my data. If I come down here, you'll see these are the 5 test users I just created. It actually tells me I created them on December 9th, all of that data. So those are in there now. My test users can go in, test the system. Now we're 3 months down the road, and I don't need those users anymore, and I want to clean up my database. So I've also written another script to delete users. This will make a little more sense when we get to recording one, but I want to show you how easy it is to run them. So I've also created a script to delete users. I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to play this script. And you may have noticed that I have not 5 users over here. I'm trying to create or delete 7 test users, but I only created 5 just a minute ago. I did that on purpose, so hopefully this will return some kind of an error. And as you see, it returns to the user 7 documents were processed, but there were errors that were encountered. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were deleted, but 6 and 7 don't even exist. And that's what I expected. EzyScript returns these messages to the user so they can process these as needed. So I'm going to, one more time, I'm going to go back and I'm going to fetch my query to show you that those 5 test users are gone. And again, we haven't even seen SAP yet, so this is all happening in Microsoft Excel. Most people are comfortable with Microsoft Excel. And I'm going to come down, and there is no test users in here anymore. So that just shows you how easy it is to run the scripts. Now I want to show you how to record the scripts. So I'm just going to stay in this same workbook. I'll just go right here, and I'm going to create a new script. So I come up to my scripting menu, and I'm going to create a script sheet. And what that does, it just adds another tab down here in my workbook called Script 1. If I were to go up to my query section and create a query sheet, it would come in as Query 1. And then we know that's got the query functionality in the background. So the Script 1, I'm on a new tab, and I'm just going to come up here to Recordings, and you'll see this new menu pop up, and I'm going to name this, I always like to name my scripts based on the T code that I'm going to script. So I'm going to use SU01 webinar script, so I know what it is. And it says, what transaction code do you want to use? And I want SU01. And I'm going to start recording. Now when I click start recording, it's going to bring me into the SAP system that I'm logged into and to the T code that I just typed in. And here we are on the user maintenance screen. This is SU01, and now it's recording everything that I do. So as I mentioned earlier, if I tend to linger around in here and start clicking on things that I'm not sure what I want to do, it's going to be recording all of that. So again, the technical knowledge of what you're doing here is very useful. So I'm going to create a new user, and I'm going to name that user, I'm going to name it Test Webinar 1. I don't think I have any users in there. Now I'm going to come up here, and just as I would if I was doing this online in SAP, I'm going to click the copy button. And I'm going to copy this from my user, which is Curtin T, to Test Webinar 1. You see these other fields that are on my screen here. These will not be part of my script unless I click in and out of them. But when we get to showing you the actual script, you'll see that these are still in there, but they're disabled. So if I want to enable something like the roles later on, I can just go click a checkbox, and I'll show you where that comes into play in just a second. I'm going to click copy, And then when we get to this screen, the only thing I really need is my 2 passwords. I got to type the same password twice. And I'm done creating this user. I'm going to click Save. And I'm going to green arrow back, and you'll see it's going to save my recording. It's ended my recording now. And it's going to take me back, once this gets done saving, into EzyScript, into the Excel side of this. And as this gets done, it's populated my script. So this is the script itself. You see everything up here that shows the little Excel icon? Those are the fields that I typed into that are going to be on my script. But as I mentioned, things like this, these are all those ones that were there, and they're kind of grayed out. I don't know if you can tell that. But something like roles, if I want roles later, all I have to do is come over here and click on the checkbox. So as you see the screens on your computer, those are the fields that are recorded, but they're not enabled. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call it SU01 webinar. I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Done. And as you see, I'm back on my script sheet. Nothing's changed. Now I can come up here to Templates, and this is where all my scripts are stored. And I select which one I want. And since I'm in this workbook still with a bunch of different scripts and a bunch of different queries, I have to choose which one I want. I want SU01 webinar. And let's say I want to create 3 new users. I click Apply, and you see this is my template. Now I have an Excel template that I can populate or that a standard user can populate. So in this case, I'm going to create test webinar 2. I'm going to use my user ID. And since we are in Excel, I can just copy this stuff down. And there's 2, 3, and 4. So now I've already created 1 user when I did the script. Now I'm going to create 3 additional users. So then I'll have 1 through 4. But at this point, let's say I need 3 more. And I didn't tell it on the last screen that I needed 7. I said I needed 3 or 4, whatever it was. I can do something as simple as copying this line, because we're in Excel, copy it down for 3 more, change this to 5, 6, and 7. I'm not going to do that right now. I can change these to 5, 6, and 7, and I'm ready to go. So you can always adjust or manage the numbers in here just using Excel. Or let's say at one point, let's say I have 6 in here like I have, but I decide now I only need 3. All I have to do is come over, I can delete those 3 lines, or I could just take this X off over here in the selected field, and now those 3 lines will not run. So those first 3 lines are the only 3 that are going to run. So now I'm ready to run this, and I'm going to click play, and you see only the first 3 lines are working. And when this gets done, it should tell me we created 3 new users. And to finish this off, I'm going to go fetch that query one more time to show you, not that we have 3 users, that we have 4 because I created 1 with the script and just added 3 additional ones. And when this gets done, we should be able to see the 4 users down under test. And there they are, test webinar 1, 2, 3, and 4, created today by me. So that's how easy it is to create a script, and that's a very simplistic script. I know we didn't have a lot of time, but we wanted to show you how easy it is. As I mentioned, any scriptable transaction can be utilized in the same way. So what that means is if you can't script it in SAP, you probably can't script it with our tool. There are some transactions that are just impossible to script. Others, this was an easy one. Others can be very complicated, but that doesn't mean they're impossible. It all depends on the layers of screens you go through to select your fields. Now, I just want to show you one more thing. I know we're running short on time, and I want to answer a couple questions. But as you see on my screen now, this is what I consider a cost center maintenance workbook. So what I've done here, and it's not fully encompassing, but I have a query that shows me my cost centers that start with the number 9. I've kind of limited it to that, so because I don't want my entire database coming back with a query. As you see, I only have 6 or 7 fields here. You can just checkbox which one fields you want back. And I also have a script in this workbook to create new cost centers. So if I was a master data person in SAP, I would like a workbook like this where I can query the information, I can create a script, maybe I can or create cost centers, maybe I can change cost centers, I could delete cost centers. I know that's not always possible in SAP, but you can have workbooks like that, or a GL workbook where you create, change, query your GL accounts. So it works very, very good with master data, material masters, some transactional data, not all. Again, we always recommend that you try it. Use our trial period, put it in your system, because obviously my test system is probably not set up exactly like yours, to check and see if that would work. So now what I'd like to do is open it up to a few questions, and I see I have a few questions in the queue. If you have additional questions, you can type them into the Q&A section of the webinar, and I will attempt to answer. If I don't get to your question, I will send an email. I do want to pull this slide back up. This is how you can contact us. Zoption.com is a great place. You can go out there, request a trial, request a full demo. We usually do hour-long demos of this. And we have a lot of success stories, things like that, out on our website. So let me take a look at a couple questions here. One question is, can your products be installed in Citrix and use SAP single sign-on? Yes. The answer to that is yes. If you use the normal single sign-on with SAP, I can't remember, SCN or SV, I think it's SCN, it works right out of the box. But we do have many customers who use our products with different types of single sign-on. It just might take a little bit of working with our support team to get that up and running, but it works just fine with single sign-on and with Citrix. Let's see. Can you run a script with multiple transaction codes? There are ways to schedule scripts or to sequence scripts. The scripts, like I just showed you, those need to be single transaction codes, but you can schedule a script to run, and then when that one gets complete, another script would run. So you can do them in succession, but you cannot have multiple transactions in a single script. I hope that answers the question for you. Is all processing in the foreground, or can we run as background jobs? You can run these as background jobs, pretty much in the same way I just mentioned with the scheduling. You can schedule those, or you can run them in background normally. That's a little more technical than I can probably answer, but we can definitely work with you in terms of getting that working. One other question we often get is, do any of our products require new hardware or a new server? And the answer to that is no. Our products go on your current server, so there's no new hardware required. And everything is in our namespace, the Zoption namespace. So the fear of something not working that works today, hopefully that will alleviate that. I did describe the implementation process a little bit. It takes 60 to 90 minutes with our help to get this up and running. And then we do have an online support system where you can search our ticket database, see if anybody else has had that issue, or you can open a ticket and our support team gets back to you in a very quick time frame. We have follow the sun strategy, so 24/7 support. I've got time for one last question, and I see one here. Have they been successful doing PO transactions? Yes, we have good PO examples, and we have customers using POs to create POs, change POs, single line POs, multiple line POs, purchase orders, sorry. So yes, purchase order transactions work very well with this product. Again, that's one of those that can get very complicated depending on how detailed your purchase order fields get or your screens. But yes, we have customers using that thoroughly. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. A recorded version of this webinar will be available for you to review. So if you would like that, you can always contact zoption.com. And I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for joining us.